So we had just completed the maximum likelihood classification, and the output of the tool was a thematic layer, and in my case here it was called ML class L722. In the exercise, you're asked to call it something specific. And that name was, just to find it here, we're going to go down quite a bit more there, 22. ML class L721. So I called mine L722. You should call yours, you can call it 22, but you should have it in your table of contents as L721. This is just the automatic naming convention. So in your table of contents, you'll see an ML class L721. Or if you followed what I had in here example, you may have a 22. Now you just have to remember where that is and whatnot. So I'm going to keep this map here, and I'm going to insert a new map. So I'm going to say insert new map, because now we're going to do one from scratch. So going back to our exercise, we'll be looking at now the image called GE 2016-0720, or RE 2016-0720. I believe that should be GE. Let's just check here. We have, oh, there it is. RE 2016-0720. For now, I'm just going to go back and dock my tool set, my geoprocessing window, just so it's out of the way. Go back to the, where did it put it? I didn't want it like that. I want it to go there. I'm on full pane, there we go. Good, now back on the catalog view. So back in the catalog view, I'm going to bring in the RE 2016-0720. And it looks like this. And if you zoom in, you'll see there's a lot more spatial detail in this image compared to the Landsat image. If we were to look at the same location, and I look at just the Landsat image at that location, which is right in here, you can see how blurry and ill-defined things are in the Landsat image. We know that's not forest, it's some sort of built-up area, and in here we can actually see, well, that area is composed of houses, and you can even see individual structures, what are most likely structures in any case, and very well-defined roads, because it's a 5-meter resolution, this GOI image. So we're going to click on the Imagery tab, Classification Tools, Training Samples Manager. And we'll open up the Training Samples Manager. I wanted to undock that. Well, I can leave it docked for now. And we want to open up the schema, the same schema we used for the Landsat image. So that's the Ottawa ECS that shows forest and non-forest. And I'll make the non-forest by going to the properties, red, like so. So we have forest and non-forest in this schema called Ottawa. And again, the schema just defines the information class names and what their values will be. So edit properties, the pixel values, like 2, for example, for non-forest and 1 for forest. So we've already seen that, because we've used this this before. But what if we didn't have this and we didn't open one up? Well, we could delete, or I should say create a new one. So we'll create a new schema, save current schema, no. And here, for the new schema, I'll go to edit properties and I'll give it a name. I'll just call it Ottawa again, same as the old one. And it shows Ottawa. That's the name of the schema. Now, I want to add items to this schema. So I'm just going to make that a bit bigger here. There we go. So to see the Add Item button, it's the little green button here. And my first one will be forest. So we're just replicating what we already have. If we were to open it, to give you the idea and the understanding of how you can create your own schema for other things you might want to classify. And I'll use that green there. So forest, 1 value, value 1 green. And that'll add that into the schema. I can just expand it. There's forest. And I'll also add non-forest. Like so. Give it a value 2. And we're using the color red, so I'll give it that red color there. And there's non-forest. So once we have a schema, if we want to use it in different image classifications, we save it by clicking the Save button. And give me an output location down here. For example, I'll go back into my Lecture B 8 folder. And I'll put it there in my remote sensing. No, where would I want to put that? Just in the Lecture 8B folder is fine. And the output location, I think I'll put the output location in my remote sensing folder. There we go. So now it will be there, called Ottawa, ECS in the remote sensing folder. So now I've saved my schema. And you can modify schemas and resave them. You can delete classes, delete them, re-add different ones if you want to change names, etc. It's pretty intuitive. So now, on this image, I need to get some forest and non-forest examples. So first let's look up here. I'm going to go over to this region, zoom in there. That looks like forest to me. So I'm going to click on the forest class in my schema, then the polygon tool. Then I'll draw. Sometimes you have to click on 2 tools back to get the, and it might look like that. Then I'll draw a polygon. So I now have a forest class. And since it's the first polygon in my training samples feature class, 100% of the pixels are forest right now. There's some non-forest there. So right there I'll click on non-forest and I'll add something to that based on this little field I see here. Right up to the road there and a little built-up farm area there. Okay, so now I've got a forest and a non-forest example from this area. And then I'll click on my map tool and I'll just use my Explorer to pan, for example. Oh, there's another good non-forest area here. So I'll click on non-forest, then I have to click on my polygon. And sometimes I have to click on another tool and then back on the polygon for it to actually be the polygon tool. It's just a bug. Once you click on the Explorer tool, sometimes it just persists. So I'll go here, all the way out to there, 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 right to there, over here, and all the way over to here. So there's a non-forest example. There we go. So I have 2 non-forest examples. And so far, it's 56 forest, and we want that down near 50. And you can do it this way. So I can say, oh, and there's a forest right here. So I'll take this piece for forest. Like so. So now we have 50%, approximately a 50-50 break between forest and non-forest. Let's just group them together. So I'll group the forest ones and the non-forest ones together just to keep my workspace here in the training dataset class lower half pane nice and clean. So obviously we don't have enough training examples yet. So I need some more forest ones. You need to get them as much possible variation as you can in forest. So you can really see that, here we have a mix of forest and bog. So that's a good piece of forest there. And there's riparian stuff in between along streams, so I don't want to catch that in the forest. You can also see some good non-forest right there. So I'll just click on the Explore tool, zoom a bit there, and here you can see that non-forest riparian zone right in there. And you can see riparian zones in here as well. So the drainage, the vegetation, which is different perhaps along the stream, right adjacent to streams. So here, non-forest, I'm going to maybe zoom in even a little bit more to capture this area. There's some water in there. There we go. Some non-forest, and again I'll just use my control button to select those two and merge them. And I'll expand that out a bit more so I can see everything. And I have a couple of forests there still as well to merge, like so. So there's some non-forest, certainly non-forest in here as well. You can see that there, maybe some, it's either an algae or maybe it's a fen, bog fen type thing, or just, that's an old meander, maybe, or maybe a current meander, I'm not sure. But that's certainly not forest, so make sure I have non-forest selected in this schema. And we got some non-forest there again, so I'll just do a merge. Zoom back out. Let's get some, trying to find some different examples from all over the image of forest and non-forest. How about in here? This looks interesting. So we have, probably some non-forest in there. So I'll click on non-forest again, just draw a little bit. Got some smaller pieces in there. So non-forest. There we go. Merge those two together. So non-forest is still, we have 58 for forest, 41 for non-forest. So I'll explore around a little bit more. Down here we got a lot of non-forest examples. So it'd be good, that's really necessary to capture some of this, because these are fields at different levels of phenology for the crops. So probably corn, likely corn, soybeans. Most of the things growing in Eastern Ontario, corn and soy. So I'm going to click on non-forest again, and I'll just do some big ones. Oh, I got to click on a polygon tool again. Oh, didn't take. Click on that circle, click back on the polygon. Now it's taken. Just take a whole bunch of this area here. Lots of good samples of all that. We don't need to be too exact. I'm just taking my time here, getting some, complex looking polygons, but not necessarily, it's not something that's really necessary. You just want some good examples. can dig all the way down there. It's going to be a massive example of non-forest. There we go. So now, non-forest, if I just merge the classes here, is 88% because we've got a massive example of non-forest there. Pretty good one. So we need definitely some more forest in here. So this area I think is mainly forest, so I'll click on forest. Do some panning. Forest, click on the polygon tool. Make sure the polygon tool takes. There's some good forest in here for sure. So that's forest again. More forest over here. That's not a very good polygon, that one. So I'm just going to delete it. We don't have crossing things in our polygons when we're doing this. So I'll just delete that last one. Continue with some more forest polygons here. There's a good one there. These are really dark areas. That's a good area of forest here too. Lots of good forest patches around here. Choose from. There's some slightly, probably more deciduous type of forest. Well, at least with more deciduous, it's a lighter colored green, for example. So we'll grab some of that, get our polygon tool going, grab a big area here. Oh, that was a bit early, so I'll just grab this one too, and a big one over here. So let's just merge some classes here. I'm gonna use my control button and get all those forests together. So we've got a few more forests we got to get that 50-50 split though. So I'll go back to my Explore tool, zoom out. Where don't I have some forest examples? How about down here? Is there any forest looking stuff down here? Well, these look like forest, like in there. So let's try some of that. So forest, get that polygon. Didn't take. Go back, get that polygon. Well, we're getting there. 67 now. A couple more big ones. Let's take this one over here. Now I'll zoom out a bit. It's my Explore tool. There we go. Some good ones up here. So forest, get back there, make sure that takes, that tool. I'll grab a big one here. Still need more. Grab some up here. And go about here. Lots more up in this area we can get. Lots of good examples right there for forest. Tool, make it take. Sometimes you get a little bit of non-forest in there, and that's normal. Grab some over here too. You can use simple like triangles. That's fine. 59 for non-forest. So I'm just going to go back to explore here. Go back over here some. There's some more forest. Grab some of that, and we should be, by that time, we should be pretty close to a 50-50. Get a bit more. You know, it can be somewhat tedious there. Oh, that's some good stuff there. Take a couple of clicks there, make sure they get the right tool going. Almost there. So it takes this is a process. It takes time. And some more good forest here. Get that going. Oh, there. Well, we got that. That's not a good polygon. You don't have these over self-intersecting polygons. So I'll just get rid of that. There we go. Try again. Back here, that tool. Try to make it simpler. Okay, let's get some of these together here. And we're about 2% off. So let's see where we got some big forest. So we got a lot of the forest is up there, a lot of those examples. Got a big example there. Some places it's hard to tell exactly. Here I think is forest as well, right in here. So I'll just make sure I get that tool. But it's certainly not older forest. I think maybe just a bit up here as well. Just a bit in there. We got forest here. And I think we got a bit more up there too. I can try. Should about do it soon. Didn't quite get that to take that tool. There we go. Okay, so now we're at non-forest at 50.8, and I think we got enough now. So I'm going to merge all those forest classes. Merge, and we have a 49.2 to 50.8. That's close enough to 50-50. I'm just going to zoom back to that layer. There we go. So we got a lot of examples of forest and non-forest. One very large non-forest example. And there's probably some, in terms of that large non-forest example, it's a really good non-forest example, but we don't have enough other non-forest examples in there. So what we got to do now is click on non-forest, and then we'll look at the expand. That's going to ungroup all the non-forest examples. We can find that large one by clicking on it till it selected. There it is. And we'll have to delete that. And we'll go back in to non-forest now. We'll just take a smaller region in that area. because we want to get some, some various examples of non-forest, like this. We didn't even have a built-up area in the non-forest, let alone water regions, like we see here. So we need to grab some of that. We want a representative examples of non-forest, not just one big agriculturally non-forest region. I get the tool to take here. So I'll start up there. That's all non-forest. All that stuff here. Might be a little forest there. And we got that. This is a great piece here because it's certainly, we got some road in there, sand, water. So that's a good non-forest. A whole bunch more down here we can get in terms of example. All around in here. More water type of areas. And we're watching forest right now. Is at 60%. This is a good example down here of non-forest for sure. Of a barren type of field with some roads and stuff in there. I'm just going to look around more. Maybe up in this area, this is all non-forest as well, so I'll take a good chunk of that. Maybe a little bit more over here. And just a small piece here. Has some different colors in it, So we're at 53% now. Zooming back out to things. I think I'll right click and say zoom to layer again. Maybe a bit of non-forest around this area. Up here too. I'd like to have a chunk of that in the non-forest. So that's good. And down here is pretty good. We need a chunk of this stuff. So you get a chunk. What didn't take there. So again, that tool is a little pesky thing. Oh, maybe that one's a little bit too big. We don't want to go find a whole bunch more forest ones. So I'm just going to go down, delete that last one. And let's make it a little bit smaller. There, 50.69 forest. I think we're good now. We have a good representation of all these classes. So I'll merge all the forest ones back, and we have forest, 50.69% of all of the pixels, and 49.31% of all the pixels for non-forest. So I'll just zoom back out to the extent of our image. Where's our zoom to layer? Okay, good. So now that we have the forest and non-forest training samples as features, as we see here, we're now going to save these as a feature class in our imagery database. So I'm going to click the Save button, go into Imagery, and I'm going to call this RE 2016-0720 training, underscore training, I should say. So you're calling it this one right here. And that's the name, and that's the same name it is in the exercise example. So I click Save. Once you've done that, you can close the image classification pane and say yes. And there we go. Now, bring in the RE 2016-0720 training feature class. And now it looks like this. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to again, if we look at the attribute table, the attribute table shows us we have class code, nothing there this time, class name forest, non-forest, class value for forest is 1 and non-forest is 2, that's the same as before, and the count in each of those. So near 42,000 in each. So I'm going to close that attribute table, go to Appearance, Symbology, Unique Values. And I'll click on the Add All Values, but not class code, I want class name, forest and non-forest. There we go. Then I'll go over to my Contents pane for forest. I'll right click and make that, again, green, and non-forest red. Once I've done that, I'm going to now examine the responses and separability within the rapid eye image and its bands to distinguish between forest and non-forest. So I'm going to right click on my RE 2016-07-20 and say Create Chart, Spectral Profile Chart, like so. And that will open up. You can undock it and remember to expand it so you can see all the tools in the spectral chart toolbar. We'll start with a boxes. We don't care too much about the mean line because the boxes are the important thing that we can really look at. Then click on the tool that says Feature Selector and click on the forest, any green polygon. So now we can see here that the spectral profile for the forest response or pixel values in band 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have come up. So I'm just going to click on the symbol here and make those green to correspond with our forest class in the profile graph. Then I can also change the label if I want to say forest. Oops. Yeah, it doesn't work. Changing the label. So it's just called profile 1. We'll have to go with the color. And then I'm going to click back on the select or the feature selector tool and click on non-forest, the red. And that's going to run. So now we have the spectral profile of the non-forest, and I'm going to change it to red from blue. Back to red. So it changes in red on the chart as well. There we go. And now we can examine the bands here, and I'm just going to undock that to make it a bit larger to see a bit easier. I'll move the spectral chart properties to the bottom a bit. So let's redraw. There we go. Okay, so we can see here that in many of the bands, there's not a heavy distinction. Certainly, band 5 is not a good one here. Band 5 has the forest class basically completely overlapping the non-forest class. In band 4, the forest class is within the 25th plus percentile of the non-forest, but it's quite narrowly within there, so it's at the very low end of it, comparatively speaking. So, but it's not, you can't see complete separability there for sure. We do see separability in bands 1, 2, and 3. Band 4, not so much. So, and band 5 certainly not. So I might just say bands 1, 2, and 3 would be the ones I'll use here for forest versus non-forest. Possibly band 4. So once we have that information, we can go ahead and create our spectral profiles. So I'll go back to my geoprocessing, all the way back here to our Spatial Analyst toolbox, and create signatures. And again, I'll undock that so I can see that at the same time as my rapid eye image in the catalog. And so I'll expand my rapid eye image right here, RE 2016-07-20. And I'm going to use bands 1, 2, and 3. And I'll drag those into input raster bands. And again, I selected those in the order of band 1, 2, and 3, and I have to do the same when I do this for the maximum likelihood classification. The sample data, well, that's right here. That's our RE 2016-07-20 training, so I'll drag that in there. And I'll use, again, class name, forest, non-forest. My output signature file will be called, in remote sensing here, RE 2016-07-20 GSG. And I'll click Save. You won't have that file yet, so you won't get an overwrite. So once I have that, I click Run to create that signature file with band 1, 2, and 3, the ones with the minimum amount of overlap in the box plots. And then we're done. Now, click back, and we'll go down to maximum likelihood classification, open that up, go back to imagery, back to our 2016-07-20th, click on band 1, control 2, 3, release the control button, and drag those into input raster bands. Signature file, click on open, and I'll choose the RE 2016-07-20 GSG that we just created. And again, everything else can stay default. We won't bother with the confidence raster at this point, and I'll click Run to do the classification using the machine learning technique maximum likelihood classification. And I'm just going to redock my geoprocessor over here for now, so it's kind of out of the way and we can see more of the map. So forest here, I'm going to make in my ML class RE204. In the exercise, it's called a specific thing. I can't remember it. I should have paid attention to that. So let's go to where we call it that in the classification here. We should have called it ML class RE21. And I chose ML class RE204. So if you follow the exercise step by step, yours would be RE21. In this case, in this live example, it's RE204. So I'll right click on forest and make forest green again, and non-forest red. And I'm going to turn off my training samples just so they're not in the way. And there I have a forest and non-forest data set for the rapid eye image based on bands 1, 2, and 3. Now, I'm also going to bring in a second, I'm just going to start a new map and bring in my two final images to have a look at them together. So I'll go back to the Insert menu, New Map, then I'll go to Map 1. I will go to my ML27, ML class L722, yours will be 21 probably. I'll right click and I'll say Copy, and go to Map 4, click on Map 4, and paste layer. So that's my maximum likelihood from L7, Landsat 7. Then go to Map 3, go to my ML class RE for Rapid Eye 204, copy, and go back to Map 4, click on Map 4, and choose Paste. And I'll just homogenize the colors here. I need a bit of a darker one for that forest. There, now we have the same forest. So turning them on and off, especially the ML class one. So that's the ML class for the rapid eye, on right now. Turning it off shows that. So on, off, and just by doing that, you can see where changes have taken place. So next, if we just zoom in a little bit, let's say to this area here, one thing you notice right away is right now on top is the rapid eye and has very fine 5-meter spatial resolution. If I turn that off, whoa, it suddenly becomes quite chunky, doesn't it? And again, these are 15 years apart, these images. So Landsat 7 is from 15 years ago. Well, not 15 years ago anymore, but relative to 2016, it was 15 years before the image in the rapid eye right here. So here we'd see, if you watch this, where we have forest, the green areas in here will turn red. So it goes from green in the middle there to a lot more red, which is non-forest during that time. So in this part, we might infer then that there has been some loss in forest. But before we can do much comparison between these two maps, there's two things we have to deal with. First is that there's a lot of what we call misclassified pixels. So when you see a pixel like that is that's all forest around it everywhere, and there's one or maybe two pixels that are non-forest, it's likely that that's just a misclassified pixel rather than really non-forest right there. It doesn't have much shape or continuity, these little things, so they're often considered noise. So we want to be able to reduce the noise that we see in this ML class RE204 image, the rapid eye image, because it's so finely scaled compared to the other one. You'll see a lot more noise, whereas some of these larger pixel groups here like that might be signal. So that could be really a non-forested region, or might have been a small microburst or something that downed a lot of trees, or it could be water in there. When we compare that to even the previous year shows, obviously there's something going on there that may be really non-forest. Of course, if we want to check out what the current conditions are, we can just change our base map. So if I go under map and then base map and I change that to imagery, I can see some quite detail. And you do see some detail. So right in here, if you look right in there, you can see there's brown areas, and that's what's picked up right here. And also somewhat picked up in the L7 image, the Landsat 7 image. And up here today is obviously there's no forest there. And we find in 2016 as well, it says non-forest. So this is how we can start looking at just comparing the two as well. In 2001 it was non-forest. And so this is one way of doing what's called ad hoc validation, where you're looking around your image, comparing them together just visually to see where things are the same and where they're quite different. And then if you have a more recent image, you can also see what might be going on there, like this.